This is a video of my lawn care equipment and maintenance. What I do is when I first buy something, I take it apart and I wrap the ignition coil wires first with electrical tape to make sure that they don't have any cuts or any shorts in it, and then I wrap it with the aluminum foil so that way when it's sitting in this heat that get in this engine area around the head where the heat gets up to 300 plus temps, it'll over time it'll degrade the wire. So I wrap it in electrical tape to prevent any shorts or anything, and then wrap it in aluminum foil to resist as much heat as possible so that I can get as long as possible out of the ignition coil wire without them going bad. What happens is when they get hot, they'll start shorting out, and you have to wait for your equipment to cool off before it'll start again, because the short will short the ground when it's hot. All right, the next thing is I tested out. I did a video where I tested the Ryobi 4cycle against the stihl FS90, and what I found was the stihl FS90, when it's in thick grass, it tends to bog down and not produce a lot of power, whereas with the Ryobi 4cycle, it just continues to kick out power in tough grass. So I took the steel shaft off of there and put it on here. So this is a steel shaft with the steel head. I found online a guy was selling 5 of these Craftsman for $35. I got this, a 4cycle. I got 2 like this, and I had 2 other Craftsman. I fixed the other one and sold it and got my money back off of it, but I decided to keep this one because it's real powerful and it has the 2-cycle effect, so I could toss and turn and flip it around, you know, when you're doing this type of work with the shaft and with the chainsaw. The chainsaw itself is very, very powerful. When you have it connected to the right stuff and you have it greased up right, it is very, very powerful. What I do is for preventive maintenance, or so that gremlins and things don't stick their head up when it's outside of warranty, which I don't buy my stuff under warranty new. I buy it all used. What I do is I take apart these types of components where you have bearings in there. And what I do when I take it apart, I replace the factory grease with my high performance grease. So that way I know I'm getting real good lubrication on, and it'll endure a long time as opposed to what they use in the factory. So therefore, I won't have any failures. The next thing is I switch my oil over to, for my lawnmower equipment, I switched my lawnmower over to 100% synthetic. I learned the difference between full synthetic and 100% synthetic. There's a total difference. The full synthetic has cheap oils added into it. 100% synthetic means that it's complete synthetic. It's designed to handle whatever stress and load, whereas with the full synthetic, over time it breaks down. I've been running it in here for the past 2.5 months, and what I noticed is the oil is still clear. Still clear. If that would have been a full synthetic, it would have been beat up by now. Beat up and black and different, all different colors and everything. It'd be everything other than what it's supposed to be. But since I'm using the full synthetic, I noticed the color change. I've been waiting for it to change ever since I put it in there. So I'm using the 5W40 in this one, and I'm using the diesel in this one, because this one I think gets a lot more stress when I'm doing cleanups on jobs that really require a lot of cutting for heavy duty cuts on the edging. Other than that, if I'm not doing heavy duty edging, then I use this little maintenance edger, the one that knocked the little grass blades and stuff off the sidewalk and so forth. But I take all this apart and add my own grease into it. That way I know, I even did it with this one. That way I know it's got a high quality grease and it ain't gonna give out on me. It ain't gonna seize up the bearings or the gears or anything in there, and it's gonna work right. The next thing I did was I was using the Eco 2-cycle oil with the somewhat semi-synthetic oil, and I was paying $15 a bottle for that stuff. Then I switched over to a weaker brand. I think it was Power Care, and then I got the bright idea. I said, since I seen how well that this worked and how smooth it made the lawnmower run, I decided to go ahead on and mix it into the Power Care stuff. I only had maybe like 4 ounces left, and I just poured a whole bunch of the So I poured a whole bunch of the 100% synthetic into the bottle for mixing purpose, for measuring and mixing purposes, and I started adding it to my 1 gallon mixture. 2.6 ounces to a gallon mixture. And when I added it in the weed eater, I noticed a big difference. I had two Ryobi 2 cycles that I added it to, and what I noticed is when I had the cheap, I emptied out the old gas and I left what was remaining in there. And when I added the new gas with the 100% synthetic, I noticed it just went, it was running a little rough, and then as soon as the 100% synthetic fuel hit the system, it just smoothed out the whole thing. I noticed with the br700 that it used to be a gas guzzler. When I was using the regular, the eco, any oil I was using, it was a gas guzzler. Ever since I added the 100%, the amsoil 100% synthetic, I noticed a big difference in the overall fuel consumption. It's far more fuel efficient now when it's running. It it runs. And I have the diesel oil in here because it beats up this oil like it's nobody business, because it's so little and it endures so much heat, but the power output is so ridiculous I won't use nothing else. So I keep